Good morning. It's Tuesday, November 27th. Parshas Vayishlach.
13th of Kislev.
Excuse me?
13th of Kislev.
13th of Kislev.
11 days to Hanukkah.
Wow. Really?
According to Benny, according to me, it's 12 days, but we're not going to fight about that.
How do we know about Hanukkah in the Torah?
Okay, Benny is asking a question. Where do we know about Hanukkah in the Torah? And?
On the Parashat Bereshit.
Yes.
The third pasuk.
Yeah.
Which is third of the month. Tishrei Cheshvan Kislev.
Right.
And the 25th word is going to be Or, light.
If you start from the beginning of Bereshit,
Really?
and you count the 25th word, it's the word Or, light.
Why the 25th word?
Because Chanukah is, the word Chanukah,
Yeah,
you break it up in half, Chanukah.
right,
Chanu means they rested,
right.
Ka is Kaf Hey 25.
Oh, I
They
see.
rested on the 25th,
I see.
and
Very
which
nice.
alludes to the 25th day of Kislev, and
And then the 25th word is or light.
25th word is Or.
Cool.
Excuse me, I may be sneezing in the next 10 seconds. It passed.
That's really
I heard it.
Before I start, I just
You
want
do
to
it
say
too.
I want to say
That's
something
what
that happened yesterday, which is absolutely amazing. And since we're in a month of miracles, I figure I'll tell you something which is not quite a miracle, but I watched Huckabee last week, and he had on a person, I forget his name, and he wrote a book, The Divine Alignment. And basically, this is what he was doing the whole thing, that from divine, from Hashem, of course he didn't use the word Hashem, he says everything aligns itself. There's no such thing as like this happened,
Chaos,
and
no, there's no chaos.
no chaos, and nothing is happenstance or circumstance or coincidental. Everything is aligned perfectly, and God knows what He's doing, and exactly when, like somebody will say, you know what, I was looking for my cousin, and I happened to walk into the Gap, and there he was exactly. I was looking for him, and we all know these things don't happen. Just happen. Everything happens because God aligned it that way. So I want to read his book, and he seemed like, and he was talking about the way he met his wife, and this was an older gentleman, and he was quite interesting. I'm going to buy his book, Divine Alignment, and see if it's consistent with the Torah view. What? He's not Jewish. No, he's not Jewish. But Hashem does things, the whole world, Hashem is not just Hashem for Jews. He's Hashem for everybody. And we have to respect everybody, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I just want to tell you this story, unbelievable story. If you heard it, I know at least one of my listeners heard it. Hi. Yossi Rappaport. We all know, what happened to him? He doesn't even know what happened to him. Here's what happened. Yossi Rappaport yesterday flew back from Florida. I'm not quite sure where he flew, what airport he flew into, but he flew back, and he lost, a couple of things fell out of his pocket. Among them was his driver's license and apparently a business card. He used to work for me here in Stephen Frankel Real Estate. So the person who found it tried to get a phone number, and his driver's license must have had one of his addresses in New York. I don't know if he has it, not sure what address he has it registered into, but the person couldn't decipher exactly where to mail it. So had a business card that he worked for Stephen Frankel Real Estate. So they called Stephen Frankel Real Estate, and they said, do you have a Yossi Rappaport working there? So my secretary was a little hesitant. Who are you? And my name is Doris Conti. So she goes, hold on. She calls me up. She tells me what happened. So here's the story. She found...
That wasn't the story.
That wasn't the story. Believe me, that wasn't the story. You're about to get... It's a good thing you're sitting, because you would be falling down. She says that she found this driver, and she has the name Yossi Rappaport. So it turns out So we spoke to her, and then we said, okay, he used to work here. Sometimes he's here, sometimes he's not here. Give us your name and address, and we'll have. Give us your telephone number, and we'll have Yossi Rappaport call you. And then she goes, where does this Yossi Rappaport live? He says, well, he lives in New York sometimes, but he used to live in Atlantic City, and his parents live in Atlantic City. He says, what street? So we go, Plaza, 43 South Plaza. She goes, oh, I live on the same block. She took a plane, the plane that he was on, she took that plane later on that day somewhere else.
Right.
She found his driver's license. She goes, I live on his block. She says, I'll bring it to Tova on Thursday. I'm flying back to Atlantic City.
Well, with a name like Rappaport, you'd think she would know
She didn't
right
make
away.
the connection.
She didn't make the connection. On this block alone, there are 2 other Rappaports, by the way.
Yeah, but when,
There are?
Not Jewish.
Yeah, but when she called Frankel here locally, you would think that
Yeah,
Frankel, Rappaport, knows, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it could have, I
That's
don't know.
interesting.
I don't know exactly what was going through her mind,
Right.
but here it is, a
That's
woman
very cool.
who got on the plane, sat on his
What's
seat,
the odds about
something
that?
was sticking her in the back,
Right.
and she sees it's a driver's license,
That's funny.
and she lives on this block. She's coming back Thursday, so I'll bring it in to Tova. So I call up Yossi, and I say, Yossi, how are you? He said, okay. I said, what's going on? He said, nothing. I just came back from Florida. I said, where are you, New York? I said, you missing anything? He goes, no. I said, yes, you are. You're missing your driver's license. He goes, no, I'm not. I said, check your pockets. Puts his hands in his pocket. He doesn't have his driver. He didn't even know.
That's so funny.
Oh my God.
That's
You
great.
know? So he's like,
Everything is arranged.
I get a better one on Shabbos. I don't know whether you heard what I told you last week, whatever. I lost my ring. I lost my ring the day before the hurricane.
Right.
I always wore it on this ring. We were going to a party one night. They had a psychic at the party. So I said, I'm going to fake the psychic out because they'll see the mark
right.
and it'll say I'm married, mark from the
right.
suntan.
Right.
So I put it on this pinky.
Right.
And of course the ring doesn't fit on my pinky. I never take it off. Next day, Ellen says to me, she says, where's your ring? I'm like having a heart attack because it's not the value of the ring, it's sentimental.
Right.
My parents gave it to me. Anyway, Shabbos, I go into a bag in the house,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I open this bag up, and here the ring's in a bag, not in a drawer, not on the floor. It's in a bag, staring at me. This is 2 weeks after the hurricane, and I'm like, I've been
Wow.
freaking out about this.
Wow.
That's good.
So you talk about
Okay.
things being alive.
So these things happen all the time, and you notice that the Torah, every single time, just about, it mentions Esav. Yaakov is in war, preparing himself for war against his brother. Almost every single time it refers to Esav, it says Esav his brother. I'll just give you a few examples. The first pasuk, the first verse, Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanov. Yaakov sent angels ahead of him to Esav his brother. Okay, next. The angels come and they report back to Yaakov. He says, we came to your brother, to Esav. And so on and so forth. I'm not going to find each and every one of them, but just about every single time it refers to Esav, he says, he prays to God, he says, save me from my brother, from Esav. Miyad ochi, miyad Esav. So,
What's the word for brother?
ach. Aleph ches is ach. You have a yud at the end of it, it makes it possessive, my brother.
Okay.
Okay? So, I think the lesson to learn here is that we have to look at another person first as a brother, and then, even if you have an argument with him, it's important that we don't take out a perspective that this person is also a human being, and he may have, you get into a fight sometimes with somebody, you don't know what that person's mindset was before. I used to always say when I used to be in court and I was standing before a judge, I would say, the judge may have had a fight with his wife right before he left his house, and now he's going to he's not going to be in a good mood. So people sometimes are not in a good mood, and it has nothing to do with you, and all of a sudden you get into a whole thing. And it has nothing even to do between you and him. It has to do with something else. So always approach. And I want to say just some, because it's one of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's next week, less than a week. There's Yutes Kislev, which is a very prominent day in the Chabad Hasidus. That's the day the Rebbe was arrested. And I don't know the whole story, but I know that he was in prison. They made up some stories against him, and they were punishing him and maybe even torturing him, and basically he just he stayed with he remained the Rebbe he was, regardless of the situation. Now, he could have gone outside of his character and become angry or violent, maybe, whatever it is. And they reported back to the Tsar, or the emperor at the time, this guy is like he's so pious, he's so religious, he's so respectful, this and this. So the king wanted, the emperor, whatever it was, the Tsar says, let me disguise myself as a regular person, just as a lowlife, so to speak, and let me see how he behaves towards me. Maybe he's just like trying to kiss up to someone. So he walked in, and the Rebbe just gave him also the same respect and smiled at him, even though he was under duress. And this very much impressed the emperor and the Tsar. And not only did he free him, but he made him offered him a lot of respect and made things a lot better for all the Jews in the area. When Yaakov, we talked about this pasuk yesterday, the 8th pasuk of the 8th parsha. He says, "I've been diminished from all my merits." He's scared. He's going to. And then he says, Ki b'makli avarti es hayarden hazeh. Let me look what the English translation is. I've been diminished by all the kindness and by all the truth that you have done your servant. And with my staff I crossed this Jordan, and I now have become into 2 camps. And it goes on to tell the story that he divided it up as 2 camps, and he says if he comes and attacks one of them, the other ones will be able to run away. But he makes this point, Ki b'makli, with my staff, I've crossed the Jordan. Now, what does that mean? What is that? What's important about this word, b'makli, with my staff?
Empty pocket.
So Rashi says, pretty much what Benny says, Lo hoye imi lo kesef, I didn't have any money, v'lo zov, I didn't have any gold, v'lo mikne, I didn't have my flock with me, ela makli levat, I just had this piece of wood, this staff that I had in my hand. And but I once said that basically he says b'makli means, if you look at the word b'makli, it's the exact gematria of Yaakov. Right? Can you figure it out quickly?
Lamed, I don't know.
Lamed is 30. Yaakov is...
the numerical word.
The numerical value of Yaakov is...
The staff is like strong, so maybe that he had the strength.
So basically what b'makli means is gematria of Yaakov, 182. So what he's basically saying, I had nothing, just myself. Ki b'makli. Just humble. Just myself, whatever I am, I was true to myself, servant of God, and this is how I carry myself out in my life. Regardless of the situation I'm in, I'm like we said before, that Yaakov was complete. He completed himself. He strived to be the best that he could be. There were these 2 brothers, these rabbis. One of them was called Reb Zusha, and one was called Reb Elimelech. There were two brothers, and they were big in Hasidus, and they were phenomenal people, and they were lovers of everyone, and people really liked them and idolized. And then many years later, this other Rebbe would say, let's say this other Rebbe's name was Baruch, okay? He would always say, he says, I'm not concerned when I leave this world and I go up to be judged in the next world. I'm not concerned that they're going to ask me, how come you weren't Erev Melech? How come you weren't Erev Zusha? How come you didn't go to their potential? He says, I'm worried that they're going to ask me, how come I wasn't Erev Baruch? In other words, why wasn't I true to myself, what I could be, what I could have done? So a person should always not worry about, that there's what somebody else is. Just look at yourself, see what you are, and be true unto thyself.
I have a question.
Yeah.
To go back to the staff thing,
Yeah.
Is that the same staff that supposedly keeps repeating in terms
Okay,
of,
so
like
it's
the staff
it's quite
Adam
possible
and
because
Abraham?
Rashi also says that what he did with his staff was that how he crossed the Jordan. He hit the Jordan River and it split for him, and that's how he was able to cross. So obviously
Is that
this
like
may
the
be
one
the
that
staff.
Aaron Sprouse about it?
Yeah.
Supposedly
So
that's
this staff
Passed
keeps
from
repeating
passed
itself.
Passed on. That's it.
When do you see something better? When you open your eyes wide or when you close them? When we say Shema Yisrael, we close our eyes. You know why we close our eyes? To see better. And I'm gonna relate that to what I said.
You mean imagination?
Not so much. If you can't see something, what do? You squint.
Yeah, picture.
No, you squint.
That's true.
As you're closing, as the aperture of your eye is getting, same with a camera, as the aperture closes, the clearer things get, if you know anything about cameras. Right? You know what the word aperture in the camera means? So as you make the aperture, smaller, you can see better. So I think it applies when you look at another Jew. Don't open your eyes so wide and see all his flaws. Like squint, see him clear, and that's why when you close your eyes, when you Shema Yisrael, that's when you're really supposed to see things clearly, and just see the good and see how you can bring out the good in somebody else. Shlomo Kalbach said, in Israel, they have these people who don't observe the Shabbos and they're driving the cars, they throw rocks. You ever hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what he said? He says, don't throw rocks, throw chalas at them. He says, that's the way you'll get them.
Kindness always does more.
Okay.
It was very nice. That was yours?
Yeah, very good.
To close.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Have a good day.